Good afternoon. It is March 8th, 2022, and here's how I saw it today. Really just a range day based off these lows and highs. You can see that midline coming in a few times throughout here. We broke out to the high side, and that was an extremely strong trend that you could have gotten in on right here. I think really that should probably be blue. We'll take a look when I get there. But yeah, you could have gotten in on this move, guys. So you can see we broke out and we're making two legs down now. So I did find a measured move of this. If you put it at these lows, that's where this ended. This trend corrected, made two legs up to a new high. Very clear price action. So let's take a look here. And I think the first trade, if you were in here at 438, I think that was, you have a failed second entry long right there. And that sets up very well. That looks great. That looks like you're going to get a scalp. And that's what you want to be doing, is you want to be looking. And is it look like it's going to get you a scalp? And is it according to the rules? And that really looks like it's going to get you a scalp. But you might not have been here that early. That's why I didn't mark it. And then we're just ranging. Bouncing off the midline. We form a level of resistance right here, but there's no setups. And then we break out to the high side. If this is a range, we break out to the high side. And then it continues down lower. Really what this looks like is two legs down, but you don't really get a setup in here. Here we have a higher low, and you really might consider that. After testing this price level a couple times, and then we break lower. Look at that midline test right there, twice, almost three times. This is another test, so you might consider that, but it's just the first entry and it's going into the EMA, so I didn't mark that. But you get a clear, nice leg up, and we form a level of resistance a little bit higher than this one. And again, there's just no setups to go short there. You might think to go long right here, but it's just not clear what's going on. First entry, second entry. This second entry fails. You just don't know at this point. And this is too far from the EMA. We find support down here and we start trending higher. And you get a first entry, failed second entry short, confirming that trend channel. That's a really good entry. That's a really good entry. Did it break lower? Oh yeah, okay, it looks like it broke lower. So yeah, that's a really good entry right there. And then we get a second entry long off that same channel, that trend channel. So really good entries right around 715, 720, and not a whole lot for the rest of the day. You can see this two legs of correction. And so this one right here, we form this level of support. Unfortunately, we break down here, and then we get a higher low right there. And then it looks like we match that low. Let's see. Nah, okay, so then it takes one tick lower. So this is aggressive, but it looks like maybe it's a failure off of support, but you're going into this EMA. So it's definitely aggressive. We come up here and you get another yeah, okay, this is like a hidden second entry long. With how bullish that is, that must be why I marked it. It's just so bullish, but you're going into the highs, and that's a huge bar. Here we get a second entry long. I think with room to those highs, I think it's worth it, especially because we're trending up. One thing I might be worried about is if this is like a channel right here, and that's an overshoot. So that would probably worry me, but that's a good second entry long. I do not like this doji there and these dojis, but it looks like a good setup. We bounce off the opening price, make this leg down, and then you get a second entry short. And I'm thinking that since there's room to these lows, that's why it's red. If there wasn't room to the lows, I wouldn't even take that. And then it's just, after that, you're just seeing that it's congestion. This might be one that you don't want to take in low volatility, because I'm seeing now those are inside this bar right here. So that might be better off being green. Then the price action was getting a little sloppy, a little tough to read. I thought we were in a channel down like this, but now after the fact, it doesn't look like that. Looks like we had a leg down, congestion, and then another leg down here. There's no setups in here. And first entry, second entry. See, and these are like all inside this bar, kind of. So that's another reason, like, this should be green probably. Also, this is clearly a level of support. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We bounce there, and you make a higher low. That's like a hidden failure, but it's so far from the EMA. But what I like is I had this range drawn, because this looked like a range to me. And so that's a higher low back into the range. And then if you don't take that, you get a failure right here at the bottom of the range. So bounces, all that's way too far from the EMA, and that's a big move. So you could have easily had like 15 points in here, or 13, 12 points maybe, if you put your stop below each bar. But if you rode this all the way to the EMA, I forget what you would have had. Probably like, I don't know, a lot though. Would have done really well. Here we formed some resistance. It was pretty tempting to go short here. We're making new highs, and this felt like a range day. And if you saw that measure move, and you see this double test here, you might take that. You might take that to just ride it back to the EMA. I don't see anything in here. Get a first entry. This kind of looks like a failure right here, but the true failure doesn't come till right here, and I don't think that you can take that. But this clearly looks like a two-legged pullback. So I think if you're going to go long on a failure, I would think you would want to go right there. That looks pretty clear to me. I don't see anything in here. It's kind of congested with a high upward bias. First entry failed, second entry short, but we had a break and a new high, so that's aggressive. That's also congestive. And then we make this leg up to a new high, and then we start trending down. First entry, second entry, new high, first entry, failed, second entry long. This was just such a bearish bar, man, and we had this break of this channel and a little spike in channel up here. So that's like two legs to a new high, and this really felt like a range day. But it's weird because it's like it almost went 50 points outside of the range. So you could have gotten in on two of the biggest moves of the day. We go all the way down, too far from the EMA in here, and you get a first entry, second entry, and I got trapped here. And we didn't correct back to the EMA. I've noticed that in my trading a lot lately. I'll wonder why the trade doesn't work. We didn't come back to the EMA. That looks like one channel up. You got to have a lot of factors stacking in your favor. I think a scalp here works anyway. 16, 50. No, it's tough. I think you get 4 ticks maybe. But if you wait till it comes back to the EMA, I think you scalp out. Yeah, you do. You get 5 ticks. So something to think about. You got to be conscious of that. First entry failed, second entry long right here. Too congestive, going into the lows. This is too far from the EMA. Come here. And this is just a higher low first entry, but it just looked like very, we had an overshoot of, I suspect that this is a channel. I drew it off these highs, and we got confirmation to the high side, but only 2 touches on this low side before it overshoots. And that's at the midline too, so I mean, you might take this. Be aggressive, but that's very risky. Here we get a first entry, second entry, very bearish setup off that opening price, off of this level of resistance. So you might consider that, but it's very, it looks like we're ranging. So here we form a trend up, and you get, and again, this is aggressive, but it just looks like a two-legged pullback. Technically, it's not. You see, there's a first entry, second entry, so it's not, but that looked like a two-legged pullback. And here we get 1, 2 measured legs of correction right here, and then we get this higher low. After a break of this channel, we're expecting to move to a new high, okay, and that's a very bullish signal bar. So it's just the first entry, but it looks pretty darn good. And then we make this move down. I don't see any entries in here. This looks like a failure. I'm not sure it's set up though. Technically, that is a failed second entry long, but so I'm gonna have to mark that as aggressive, just because that doesn't really look like first entry. It's just one tick. Then we come down here, make this little spiking channel that traps a bunch of longs probably, and then when you get this lower high right here, we're expecting a move to a new low, and we get that. But look at how bullish that setup looks. And yeah, so that's definitely trapped a lot of longs. And then we're just chopping around down here, breaks out, fails, and that's formed this spiking channel down. So this is second entry. It looks like it's it's right at the close, so you really shouldn't take that. This kind of looks like a second entry and a double test of this level of previous support. So I did like that, but it's just very aggressive. So that's what I saw for today. I hope everyone had a blessed day, and I'll be back tomorrow.